Nick Wright is now joining us, co-host First Things First. They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Music to my ears. Yeah. I mean, if only you'd seen that all year before picking Russell Wilson to win that division. If only you had a friend that could have given you a heads up. By the way, Colin, I don't know if you saw before the year, my preseason Super Bowl pick, Chiefs-Niners. It's looking pretty good according to the old herd hierarchy, my friend.
Let me ask this. I did think their front seven against the Chargers, I thought was really good. I was like, wow, they're getting a little healthy. Give me one thing that would concern Nick Wright. Is there anything about the Chiefs you're like, Cincinnati comes
they have a very young secondary. Yeah. I mean, they've got, of their top 7 players on the back end, 5 of them are rookies. Now, they seem to be good rookies, but that is concerning. You mentioned the front 7. Chris Jones is having the best season of any defensive player not named Micah Parsons in the whole league.
Yeah.
He's been excellent. And, another rookie, George Karlaftis, has been good. The defense quietly has been rebuilt via that Tyreek Hill trade and via some smart moves by Brett Veach in the front office. But here's the only thing. So during that Chargers game, tell me if you think this is crazy. So after the Keenan Allen fumble, the Chiefs get the ball up 3. I'm obviously hoping they drive and score a touchdown, go up 10, and put the game away. But what I am most afraid of is not them turning the ball over like they did. What I was most afraid of is that they would drive, take a lot of time, and then kick a field goal to go up 6 with like 3 minutes left. And the reason I say that is, as long as Mahomes is going to get the ball at the end of the game, I never feel bad. The only time I'm nervous is if it's like, oh, wait, the other team's down less than a touchdown and there's so little time left, the Chiefs aren't getting the ball back.
Right.
Like we've seen Belichick do this in the past in, extreme situations, but I think the Chiefs should be playing late game situations once it gets inside of 3 minutes, or if they're up by less than a score, of send the house every time to either get to the opposing quarterback or let them score a touchdown just so Mahomes gets back on the field. If he gets back on the field, I'm never not confident that he's going to find a way to come through.
Yeah, because, the real weakness for the Chiefs is secondary, and it just so happens in the NFC they'd have a clear path, and I would have no doubts. But Burrow and Josh Allen do make me, for a second, pause, because they're both guys that are capable of playing from behind. Now, the Garoppolo thing's fascinating. They wouldn't give him a playbook. They wouldn't give him a playbook.
Yeah.
There were multiple stories they were going to trade him. Trey Lance gets hurt, and they're like, okay, it's yours. I can see bitterness. He doesn't appear like Tua. He doesn't have that genetic makeup. They're not bitter guys. They're team guys. They're good guys. They're great at the podium.
Yeah.
And we know he's not great. But they don't pay him what they're going to pay Aaron Rodgers. So everybody bails on him. I'm like, if they pay him $25 million a year and they're not paying him $50, you get better players around him. Do you? If he leads them to a Super Bowl, do you bail on Garoppolo? What do you do?
Well, listen, if he leads them back to the Super Bowl and they lose, if he wins the Super Bowl, then I guess begrudgingly you have to keep him. But he obviously is the weak link. You're right that he's a good guy, but they are also the only team in the league. They have a first-team All-Pro running back, a first-team All-Pro tight end, a first-team All-Pro wide receiver, a first-team All-Pro left tackle, and their other wide receivers, Brandon Ayuk, who's pretty damn good. And, oh, yeah, by the way, they have the best defense in football. If they had a real quarterback, they'd be one of the best teams in modern NFL history. Instead, they have Jimmy Garoppolo, who twice a game is going to throw a pass with his eyes closed, and you're going to bet on him with your eyes closed, like, Jimmy, please don't run out of the back of the end zone and take a safety. Jimmy, please don't do something terrible. And so, listen, the guy's played 6 career playoff games. He's been good in 0 of them. They have every playoff win he has, they have won despite the quarterback play. And I think Shanahan knows it. And here's the other part of it that I feel like we can't gloss over. You're right, they tried to trade him. Why were they not able to? Because there wasn't a team in the league that said, we're going to make him our starting quarterback. A team decided to trade for Baker Mayfield. Now, they were wrong in doing that. Teams decided to trade for Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan. There was not a team in the league that wanted to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the Niners got lucky on that because Trey Lance got hurt, but I am the general sports media being very fickle on Jimmy G. I was here when he ran out the back of the end zone against the Broncos. Yeah. I was here when the Chiefs beat him by 3 scores, and everyone said what I've been saying forever, which is you can't win at the highest level with Jimmy G. Now, he puts up a really nice game against a Cardinals team that has quit in all facets, and people are like, 3 years, $75 million. Why would they not do it? I wouldn't do it. The Niners won't do it. They're too smart.
All right, before we get to another take on the World Cup, because I was very optimistic this morning, most soccer fans aren't, but before we get there, I would not bench Zach Wilson because I don't believe Salah or Joe Douglas, their jobs are not in peril if the season goes sideways. Great drafting GM. The defense has the fingerprints of Salah all over it. You got to see if he can play. I think benching him is waving the white flag. And it's like, that's bad for everybody. What do you make of the situation? I didn't like him out of college, but, I've been wrong a lot, too. What do you make of the situation with Zach Wilson and the Jets?
No, he's done. He's got to be done, Colin. I would agree with you that the development of a young quarterback that could be a franchise quarterback can supersede the importance of trying to sneak into the playoffs as the 7 seed. And holistically, I agree with you on that. But he's not the guy. And it never, in college, Colin, you watch more college football than anyone I know. You ever thought he was the guy when he was at BYU?
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
Yeah.
Nobody understood. That draft, we all knew Trevor was going number 1. And then, oddly, the Jets just decided, and there's no debate who's going number 2.
Right.
And everyone was like, the draft starts at 3. And now, in consecutive years, he's been the worst starting quarterback in the league. It's back-to-back seasons. And I understand it's the Jets, and Darnold had a lot of that too. The guy can't play. And he seems to have the opposite of the Jimmy G. Well, at least the teammates love him. He seems to have a lack of accountability. And I do think that the Jets are moving on from him after this year. I think that with certain guys, and listen, I've been wrong. I like Josh Rosen a lot coming out of school.
Yeah.
I was dead wrong. But you knew it after a year.
Yeah.
With him, you know it after a year and a half. I would try to claw my way into the playoffs. I can't believe I'm saying this in 2022, but with Joe Flacco, I guess, and see if we can get a 7 seed to try to have, some good momentum going into next year. And then, by the way, that's probably where Jimmy Garoppolo plays quarterback next year, Colin. The New York Jets.
Yeah.
They have a ton of money.
Yep.
It's the exact type of team that I think would be like, okay, we just need stability at the quarterback position. They're not going to have a good enough draft pick to draft a guy. That's probably where Jimmy G goes.
So I said this earlier. No sports fan base in America is quite like the United States men's national team fan base because they feel ignored and often bullied as soccer fans in America. And so they lack a lot of self-awareness. It's always the coach's fault, and the perspective is out of whack. Argentina lost this morning. Italy didn't make the World Cup. We settled for a draw and didn't have the best player on the pitch. That was Wales' best player. I look at it and think, perspective. Play hard against England, lose close, beat Iran. I think we get out of the group stage. Do you this morning? Are you optimistic?
I'm certainly not pessimistic, but I do feel like that was a gut punch of a missed opportunity. Because with respect to, in Group A, what Saudi Arabia proved by beating Argentina, that anyone, from any of these groups could advance, Iran is not going to advance.
Right.
And England almost assuredly is. So it's going to be us and Wales coming down for that second spot. And had we beaten them, it would have been such a smooth ride, a path to the knockout round, which is exactly where we will determine whether or not it's a successful World Cup. Get to the knockout round, see if you can get to the round of 8, the quarterfinals, for just the second time in 70 years, and see if you can get past the quarterfinals for the first time, ever in the World Cup since the first World Cup. by having control of that match for the entire first half the way we did, and then drawing because of kind of a knucklehead penalty that obviously was a penalty, I don't think all is lost, but I do think it was a potentially devastating missed opportunity. Because if you get the 3 points against Wales, it's hard to see how you're not getting at least 4 points, probably 5 if you can draw against England, and maybe, even more if you beat Iran, which you should. And so it's just, that part is emotionally devastating for the fans. It is the players' job, of course, to not let that bother them and to have a good showing against England, see if they can steal 1 point against England, and then you go beat Iran and you advance no matter what.
Look at Nick Wright today. He looks like he's going to a country club. The blue suit, it's very Pinehurst.
First of all, it's green. I mean, this is a Gucci tie, yes, but I didn't think you'd notice that on TV. I thought you were about to say, look at Nick Wright with his amazing international soccer knowledge. People don't know how much I know about the World Cup and about tennis, which we don't talk about. And I used all that knowledge, Colin, to tie into all of my NFL bets for this weekend to add a little bit of juice to it. Argentina on the money line this morning. So I'm down about 4 figures all before the weekend even starts, Colin. Not great, but you know what? We rally and we regroup.
That's what we do. Nick Wright, great host. Yeah. First things first. Good seeing you, buddy.
See ya.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.